Okay, I'm sorry, but I still don't like how Smaug's mouth curves up at the end. It just looks like he's grinning stupidly, and I don't like it.
You don't like the smug dragon grin?
No,
Okay, I
sorry.
was okay with it.
It's there's this one picture that just really accentuates it, and yeah, I don't like it. Sorry,
Okay.
don't like it.
Yeah, oh well. Is it on? Hello and welcome to the Poe-Cast. I'm Benjamin,
And I am Christopher.
and we are finally talking about dragons. Without
Yes,
notes. I
I
should have been taking
think
notes.
that
But
this is going to be the Poe-Cast for March 14th. I could be completely wrong.
I don't know. It's
If
February right now. It's the snowpocalypse outside my dorm room. They
yes,
canceled my tap dancing class, which makes me a very, very, very sad camper. Anyways, dragons. One of
Dragon.
my favorite topics. And yeah. I mean pretty much the only reason I played Skyrim was because of dragons.
Dragons are my absolute favorite mythical fantasy
Oh
creature.
yeah. I mean that's why they're gonna be so prominent in my
Hands
story.
down, my favorite.
I mean, if you remember my original story concept, it was going to be about dragon riders, but then it was like, that's been done 600 times.
Yeah, but it's been done well, so you could do it again.
Yeah, no, I'm going to keep. I like my dragons I have now.
Okay.
That way.
Yeah, it is very odd to remember that you originally started with Dragon Riders and have moved so far away from that.
I'm really glad how I moved away from it. But dragons, oh. Did you ever watch the documentary? I gave it to you. I let you watch it. That dragon documentary. Or what if dragons were real and it made a fake hypothesis, it made like a fake discovery of a frozen dragon carcass in a cave. And they did all kinds of they did like scientific stuff like how would a dragon fly? Oh, its bacteria would produce hydrogen, which would make its lungs lighter. It would
I
have a
think I
honeycomb
think
skeleton
yeah,
system.
I think I have seen
It
this.
was really neat, except for the evolution, stuff from dinosaur dragon to medieval dragon. But it was really cool, interesting to see the creativity that went into that to make the dragons quote unquote real. Especially with how they breathe fire, I really liked how they made dragons breathe fire
Yeah.
because with the high, I'm gonna go really crazy here. With the setup they did, the dragons had two sets of lungs. They had they had normal lungs, and then the bacteria they would produce whenever they burped, they would store that in the second pair of lungs. Really weird. Okay, but anyways, the hydrogen is what made them light, like not so they could float, but light enough so when they flap their wings, they could achieve air and not be quite as heavy. I mean, they wouldn't hover in the air without if they stopped flapping their wings. But anyway, how they breathe fire was they had a crocodile soft palate, which the crocodiles use to close so water doesn't get in their lungs whenever they're eating their prey.
Right.
Because that was the question. It was like, if a dragon breathes fire, how would it keep the flame from backfiring and searing into its throat? Soft palate. And how would you spark the flame? What they did was they had dragons had the normal carnivore fangs, but they also had molars, which they used to chew minerals, which I think it was platinum. I think they would find platinum deposits, which makes it really rare for a dragon to breathe fire, which is cool, makes them less OP, and also shows why dragons would live in certain areas because they find a platinum deposit. They're like, okay, I've got fire, and they would make their home there. And then they just go chew up some platinum, store it in their mouth, under their tongue, and then just get the spark and let the hydrogen out. But also, they'd be sacrificing their flight capabilities because as long as they breathe fire, they're losing hydrogen. And they showed a battle between two male dragons over territory, and that's what happened. The male kept wasting his fire and eventually was grounded, while the young one still had pretty much the air striking capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I am not really a fan of that. See, and also because that's really trying to like nitty gritty define it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, A for effort, but it's also really fun just to have the mystery of dragons.
well, yeah, because you don't have to explain why they can fly. I mean, granted, my dragons have a freaking huge wingspan.
I mean, mine do too.
I mean, we're
Your
talking about
dragons,
like
I don't know how much your dragons have changed, but your dragons terrified me. Have they changed much?
just how big they are.
No. How your well, most dragons in most stories have dragon magic, which is the most powerful form of magic
Oh
in
yeah.
most. And Christopher's dragons could actually not like. There's the rules of magic where you can take the form of something, but you're still not that. You may look like a rock, but you're still you. You're not as hard as a rock or whatever. Dragons don't make themselves look like a mist. They actually turn into a mist. And we tried to collaboratively make a story about a dragon slayer and how he was chasing an actual dragon, and he eventually got like I think he grabbed onto the tail or something, wasn't it like that?
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, but he's literally in the middle. He's facing down a dragon in a swamp, and then all of a sudden he's surrounded by a mist, and all he can hear is the dragon's voice from all around him as the dragon's just egging him on and criticizing him, and he's trying to fight literally a mist. Until he learns to grab the tail when the dragon's solid, and then the dragon can't shake it.
Well, sure he could. The dragon just turns into
Well,
a
he
mist
could.
again.
He just managed to hold on to it really tight.
Yeah, what if the dragon turns into a mist again?
Uh, I mean, it's still the tail. That could be the dragon's one and only weakness.
I don't think dragons have weaknesses.
This is true. Well,
Yes.
whoa. What about Smaug? Let's talk about that for a minute, shall we?
Smaug didn't have that powerful of magic.
Okay.
He had power,
Uh,
but he didn't have transforming capabilities.
all right. I'll let you have that.
Smaug.
Didn't we have my poor mage in the backstories who tried to go and learn dragon magic? Remember that guy?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much he mastered every form of magic, and then he went to the dragons. He's like, I'm going to learn dragon magic. And the dragons are like, well, since no one's ever tried this, sure, we'll give you a shot. And they teach him the most simple spell. And he performed it perfectly. But because he wasn't a dragon, it destroyed him.
Yep.
So that's kind of a retrospect on dragons' power of magic power capabilities. It's pretty darn powerful.
Yes.
And I think Christopher and I are now going to go on a tirade about four-limbed and six-limbed dragons.
Four-limbed and six-limbed dragons. Okay. In my opinion,
7 and 5 when you count the tails, but whatever.
those are not.
Well, they kind of are, but anyway.
They're not limbs.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're used for balance and fighting. I mean,
fine. Four-legged dragons, as opposed to two-legged dragons. Okay, the way that I always classified them in my world back when I had the magical mages are everywhere and are part of society was that dragons are like people. We can speak, we can think, we can use magic. They are not animals. Wyverns and wyrms and things like that are your animal dragons, which generally all dragons have 4 legs, 2 wings, a tail, and a head, and a snake body.
mm-hmm.
Granted, they're massive. Wyverns could also have 4 legs, but most of the species had 2 legs. The chicken dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that sounds silly.
I like that. I like that, actually. Yeah. I don't think you explained that to me, but I like that.
Yeah. I mean, there are some 4-legged wyverns, but they're much smaller. I basically reserved breathing fire to dragons, I might not necessarily do that.
And I just spammed your chat bar with an army of ninjas.
Stop ninja-ing me. You swigged me before, you ninja'd me now. Why can't you just be like my power cord that likes warm hugs?
You're still making fun of me because of the fact that I haven't seen Frozen, and it frustrates me.
You need to see Frozen. Frozen was amazing, but we're
I
talking
know
about
I need to
dragons.
see
There are no
Frozen. I just
dragons in Frozen.
no only big snow golems.
Only big snow golems. Golems are another
Which
whole
reminds me, guess
Yes.
what time it is?
Oh no.
Warg!
Bum 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 bum.
Oh, that was a big bug. Yeah. Well, I guess now this could be kind of. Or I was gonna say maybe this is an army update, but the only thing is now I'm thinking about making that big Gork and Mork thing that Christopher showed me because that thing was amazing. There was like a fantasy unit for the Warhammer 40k, which essentially all the orcs, when they go to war, they just pile a bunch of rocks together, and
It's
eventually they
it's
get
it's
so angry they just infuse the rocks with and essentially one of their gods, Gork or Mork, comes down and possesses the rocks, and then goes on a smashing rampage.
it's that's actually for fantasy, not 40k.
Oh, fantasy, but
But
I'm going to make a
yeah.
40k version.
Oh yes.
Ooh, what if I made a Titan? What if I made a Titan like that?
Ooh bye.
Ooh. Anyway, I think I'm going to talk about Death Squadron, which you need to read, Christopher. I mean, I'm going to spoil a bunch, but it's not really spoil. It's orky stuff.
Okay.
You can't spoil orcs, but Death Squadron was an incredible, incredible comic series, all orc. Like, my favorite character was Killboy. And as everyone's heard my explanation of orcs, they're nuts. But even the orcs admitted Killboy was nuts. So you can kind of imagine how crazy this guy is. And Storm Boys are the pilots for the orcs. So they have a strict military regiment,
Yeah.
which really isn't that
Okay.
much. But it's hilarious how they do it because at the beginning of each comic, they introduce each pilot. Like it's one of the smart boys who is the co-pilot to the main guy introduces each
Okay.
character with their flight record, with an orc flight record. And it's like by the third comic, it's like, yeah, this Killboy. He's the top ace pilot of Death Squadron. 74 missions flown, 74 planes replaced. It's just like he's destroyed a plane every mission he's been on, and he's pretty much like you thought Vader was more machine than man. Killboy is pretty much a brain and a heart with a stomach and connected to machines by this point. he has been so many crashes, and the worst part is you get to see every single stinking crash he's been in the graphic novel. But there's so much orkiness, I can't handle it. I was literally crying, laughing on the floor. My dad was looking at me like I was nuts. I was like, "You wouldn't understand." There's one point.
So could you give
Oh,
the name of this so that people and where to find it so that people can find it?
Oh gosh, I'll try to post the link on the Poe-Cast on the websites, but it's
Okay.
just Death Squadron, spelled DEFF Squadron. It's spelled ridiculously. Squadron. SKWADRON. I can't spell out loud, but I can spell when I type.
Okay.
But oh my gosh, it was hilarious. Here's the contribution to Orky story, which Christopher will appreciate and laugh at. They made an orc bomber, like a super bomber.
Oh no.
Oh, it was ridiculous. But the big boss wanted the entire squad to pilot it, so it's not individual flyers. Everyone's in that. And then they had the other squadrons, which were under the command of Killboy's commander. I can't remember the name of right now.
Okay.
The entire comic series, the orcs are at war with each other.
Okay.
That's the cool thing.
Ooh.
And all the orcs get into a dogfight over the other orcs. So it's orc fighters against orc fighters, and one of the orc gunners is like, "Oi, how do we tell which one's ours?" And then the commander goes, "Shoot at him. If you miss, it's one of ours. If you hit him, it's one of theirs." He's like, "Okay, that makes it easy," and he shoots one of their own guys.
Oh no.
And then finally, they try to drop the secret weapon, The boss hasn't told him what it is. And there's, of course, an Orky malfunction. The bomb bay doors won't open. So Killboy's like, I got this, and he goes running off to activate it manually. And then
Oh
boss is like,
no.
maybe you should let him go down there. And they're like, why? What's your secret weapon? The secret weapon. Now, this plane is about the size of an Orc Titan.
Oh no.
Which, when you stop and think about it, that's about 400 feet long, 150 feet tall. It's huge. And most of this is for the cargo area for what they're dropping. Their secret weapon is pretty much a massive armada of squigs. The little ankle biters that the orcs raise as pets. And Killboy goes charging into these things, and they're eating him. And they're like, he's going to be eaten alive. No, he's mostly bionic now. They're not going to find anything to chew on. And he's literally wading through these things, and they're just hanging off of him. And then he activates the button, and all the squigs get dropped, including the orc Killboy. And the comic ends with, I hope Killboy survives that or something. He's like, oh, I'm more worried. They're like, they'll be worried when the squigs hit the ground. He's like, I'm more worried. I think they'll be more worried. They should worry about Killboy more than the squigs. And Killboy survives the fall and just goes to town. It was awesome. He's just like, Wah! As he's falling 1,000 feet without a parachute. He's just like, this is awesome. It was so ridiculously funny. I didn't get it. It was, oh my god. It was the best thing I have ever read. If you enjoy, you're going to have to really study your 40K to appreciate this, but I recommend reading this if you're looking for a laugh and you appreciate this kind of humor, because it was hysterical. It was so bad. In a good way.
Oh my goodness.
A corny good. I'm crying again.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Benjamin, if you've got any internet, pull up the Games Workshop site.
Okay, I'll do that. Why am I doing this?
Because we are going to have a dwarfy time.
A dwarfy time?
A dwarfy time.
How's that work? Okay. So I take it I'm going to the fantasy section. Correct?
It should be on the front page.
Oh.
Pull up Belagar, Ironhammer, Dragon Slayer, and Hammer's Longbeards.
Nope, I don't have the front page. I'll go to the front page now.
Okay.
Hold on.
I can send you links.
No, I got it. Oh, this guy. You mean this big guy with the mohawk? The angry mohawk?
Yeah, that's the Dragon Slayer. The dwarf with the angry mohawk with the 2 axes leaping off. He's in the blue striped pants.
Okay. So apparently the Tyranids got an update, and so did the dwarves.
Tyranids got a massive update, and the dwarves have gotten some new minis, and it's pretty certain that a new army book is going to be coming for them.
What's going to be coming for them?
A new army book.
Yay!
Because they're old. So you've got the Dragon Slayer, which of course are the freaking crazy dwarves who run around barefoot, shirtless, with giant mohawks. And Belagar, Ironhammer, pull him up. He's the new hero.
Is he this dwarf I'm looking at that has the gray beard and the silver armor?
Silver armor. He's got a big
hat,
red thing above his hat. Well, I think that's more like a boss pole.
Okay,
he's got a hammer in one hand and a shield in the other hand, and he's standing on a runestone.
The page is down on my end, so I can't see it.
Oh, okay. And then there are the hammerers, or the longbeards, which is kind of cool. You can make 2 different kinds of troops using the same box. That's kind of cool. $50.
Yeah, I mean, when you stop and think about minis, it's like, oh, that's not that much, but it's still at the same time, you're like, that's a lot. I guess we can segue back to dragons. Or try to, at least.
Segue back to dragons. Orcs and dragons.
Orcs and dragons, orcs and wyverns. Which reminds me, I should get myself a Chaos Helldrake and orcify it.
No.
Oh come on, you know that'd be cool.
No.
Yeah, it's not true. That's impossible.
And
Don't let it.
Princess Leia is your sister.
Oh, that's 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 just not. That's ill. Robot Chicken, anybody? Oh my gosh. I haven't seen a Robot Chicken episode in a while. I need to see that. Anyway, dragons. Yes. Smaug. Christopher's is upset about Smaug's mouth, but I like it because it makes him look more smug and
Well,
cocky
okay.
and arrogant.
I think it makes him look a little bit silly, actually, because it's like he's constantly grinning.
I mean, he's a dragon. He's a smart aleck.
I have to say, I like everything about Smaug except the fact that he doesn't have two legs. That doesn't have four
Yeah,
legs,
I
and
like
and the curve aperture at the end of his mouth.
his mouth.
Everything about the rest of him is
I
beautiful.
mean, yeah. I mean,
Literally
I can kind of see
everything
why
else.
they turned him into a four-limbed dragon because he is in a mountain and running around underground all the time. I mean, I can see why they did it, but at the same time, I'm just like,
But he used his wings as legs to run around.
Yeah. I mean, the dragons in Skyrim do that too.
Honestly, I think it's the fact that I think George R. R. Martin and Game of Thrones has had a very profound influence on
Yeah, because his
that
dragons are four-limbed, aren't they?
because his dragons are four-limbed and four-limbed
Mhm.
dragons are popular now.
And everyone's thinking that all the memes that are kind of suggesting that what's her name, who has the three baby dragons, is in charge of Smaug. I mean, I know it's a joke. What? Daenerys. John just corrected me.
Daenerys Targaryen.
With her dragons. Okay, so my dragons are pretty much split up. They're in the creation story. They're pretty much were dragons that kind of helped create the world. Like, of course, the great god. I still tweaking this, created the world, but the dragons are kind of like the embodiment of each element.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, the Dark One essentially made his own dragon, and then the dragons intermingled, and then we had the next generation, which are known as the Ancient Dragons, which are pretty much pretty much your most powerful dragon. Like if anyone's familiar with Lord of the Rings, or I should say Lord of the Rings, any children of Húrin, Glaudring, the father of all dragons.
Glaurung.
Oh, Glaurung, the father of all dragons. So they still have speech capabilities, and they have really powerful magic, including to change their form. This is inspired by Christopher to turn into a mist, or a rock, or a tree, or even human form. There are ways to tell if it's a dragon in human form because their voice is very powerful and inspiring.
Yes.
Because, as everyone knows, dragons are in love with their voices. And
Yes.
they have every bleeping right to be in love with their voice. I mean, examples: Benedict Cumberbatch, Morgan Freeman. I would even say David Tennant because it's intriguing. I think he could pull off a good dragon voice. And Sean Connery, Dragonheart. Oh gosh, Dragonheart. That's a good movie. We'll talk about that in a minute. But after the Ancient Dragons, you have the next cast, which they don't have quite as powerful magic, but they can still communicate. But they don't change into elemental forms. They can only change into human or orc or anything that's human being. Then you have the lesser dragons who can only speak. They can't change their form. Then the next tier, you have even lesser that have very limited speech or more bestial and feral. And then you get down to just feral dragons. And then lower than that, you have no fire breathing wyverns and etc.
In terms of your feral dragons, are they beasts or beings? Are they sentient or animals?
They're sentient with other dragons, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But not with other beings. For example, if it's just a bestial dragon running around on its own, it's pretty much just a beast. But if it was given orders by a higher ancient one or something above it, it comprehends enough to follow orders. Probably due to the magic that the older dragons are using
Okay.
on it. I don't want to say like they're hypnotizing it, but they just it's kind of like if anyone's done Dungeons and Dragons, the paladin inspire hope and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And the dragons are currently allied with the touched until I find a better name for them. And that's
You're gonna call them the Touched because that's just an awesome name.
it is awesome. Well, it seemed awesome at first, but now I'm not sure if I want them to. I'll work on it.
Okay.
Anyway, your dragons.
My dragons. It depends on what you mean by my dragons, because I've actually handed off Amir to Jonathan, and I am totally leaving that to him.
Oh, well, maybe your original dragons, and even though you deny it, I know you still have a dragon up your sleeve somewhere for your current story. At least I really, really, really hope you do and believe that you do somewhat.
You mean a live dragon?
Even if it's a dragon.
I have a dragon skull.
Ooh,
I'm going to have dragons mentioned, but they're not going to appear physically in live form in the...
Tell us about this dragon soul you speak of.
Skull, not soul.
Skull. I think it got me all fired up thinking Skyrim.
Dragon soul. That is a really awesome idea, but this is not going to have anything to do with Queenmaker.
I am Dovahkiin. I eat dragon souls for breakfast. Ah!
Could you imagine that? You're just a dragon. You're like, I'm gonna rage this village, and you fly down, and all of a sudden this guy shouts at you. Well, technically with dragons, they breathe fire and stuff through speaking, so dragon fights are pretty much just heated debates. And all of a sudden you just get grounded by this shout, and this guy walks up and he just stabs you and then devours your soul. That's just very morbid. That's not a very nice way to go out.
Okay, I have a new respect for Skyrim now.
I am Dovahkiin. I will eat dragon souls because I am hungry. And because I want more powerful shouts. Fusrota!
Okay. Now I'm back to not having as much respect for Dovahkiin. Sorry.
I am Dovahkiin.
Well, Dovahkiin, almost as bad as Deadpool. Anyway, trolling the world since who knows when. So, Dragonheart. If anyone's seen that movie,
Dragonheart,
amazing, fairly well done dragon movie, in my opinion. I still think the most swashbuckling, epic dragon fight, also not in only physical sense, but in a verbal sense, was between Draco and, oh gosh, what's the knight's name? Baron? No. The actors are Dennis Quaid, who's playing the knight, actually the long-lost knight, and Sean Connery is playing Draco. And these two are fighting, and it's the most amazing fight. But by the end of the fight, the guy makes his money killing dragons. He's like, oh, there's only one last one of you. And Draco's like, I am the last one. And pretty much the fight ends up in a stalemate. And they end up helping each other. And a dragon and a dragon slayer start working together to pretty much, I don't know what the proper word would be to describe this. It's not a heist. No, it's not a heist. But they essentially...
It's a bit of a scam. They're a bit of a scam.
The scam artists. Like, Draco flies in and he starts ravaging a town. Not really. I mean, he's only doing it for a theatrical show because a dragon would never kill an innocent soul, which I find kind of cool for this type of dragon anyway, in this story. And then, Baron comes in. I don't know
his name is Bowen.
Bowen and Draco. And then Bowen comes in, and he's like, oh, I'll save you guys. And then Draco, and he have this dramatic fight when he uses ballista. He uses a ballista to kill Draco, and Draco crashes into the nearby lake and then swims away, while Bowen collects the money and the food, and they meets up with Draco, and they go find the next village. And all this goes great until Draco crashes into what he thought was a lake, which is actually just a really, really big puddle. And that's where the movie really starts, and it's amazing. The funniest thing is Dennis Quaid and Sean Connery. Sink! I can't, it doesn't go any deeper. And you just see this dragon, he's literally up to his because he's on his back. It's only like barely touching his shoulder blades. He's like, I'm trying. The whole plan backfires, and they get chased out with pitchforks and torches, and it's amazing in every sense of the form in the way. Great movie, look it up. Another movie you guys should look up, Christopher introduced me to this, is Lady Hawk. It's kind of the same style, and I like it.
Yes, it's granted it doesn't have a dragon in it.
It doesn't have a dragon in it, but it just the way it's written and stuff reminds me of Dragonheart. And if any
does.
musical theater people listening, Matthew Broderick is in it. That was like one of his first movies, so check it out for him. I mean,
was he the older guy or was he the younger guy?
He was the kid. He was the thief. Yeah.
I love the thief. I love the thief. I love the thief. Yes, I do. Yeah, I love the thief.
Rogues. Matthew Broderick's the thief. I think he's known as the mouse because he can squeeze out of any cell they put him in, or something like that.
Yeah, the mouse or something like that.
Or the gray mouse or something. Yeah. I mean, they really have him in the cell, and they're like, "You're not getting out of here." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I give up." Blah blah blah, and they leave. And then he pulls a rock up, and he squeezes through this like foot wide hole. He's like, "Yep." They come back, he's gone, and it's good. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen the new Being Human episode, but they actually they make a reference to Lady Hawk.
Yes, I have seen it. I've seen it.
You, Josh and Nora, you guys kind of have this Lady Hawk thing going on.
I was just sorry, Aiden's told me all about your Lady Hawk situation, which is hilarious because I was explaining the situation to my dad, and he mentioned it's like Lady Hawk. And 2 minutes later, 2 minutes later. Oh, I'm so sorry about your Lady Hawk situation. I was like,
oh,
it was kind of awesome.
I think one of these future podcasts we should probably talk about Being Human since we obsess about it so much, and because the new season's out. I mean, why not?
How many episodes have there been? There's a new episode. It was yesterday. Is that episode?
I think they're up to 3 right now, but I can't watch them because I'm watching it on Hulu. But I think
have you seen episode 2?
I'm just on episode 2, 2. Are you on episode 3?
I don't remember what the most recent one was, but
sure. Well, on that note,
since we've really steered away from
steered away. Yeah, steered away.
Anyway, now, I've seen episode 3, and just let me tell you, episode 3, there is something huge that happens at the end of it.
I can imagine. It probably has to do with the little snippet commercial I've seen. Spoiler alert! If Cal's listening, stop listening. Where Sally gets possessed by the book or whatever. Christopher's grinning. Anyways, I'm Benjamin.
And I'm Christopher.
And this is the Poe-Cast.
And we're calling that done. Good night.
Good night.